So the universe is co-creation, not creation. So we all create the whole universe. What is the plan here? That the universe doesn't have a goal. You know, that the universe doesn't have a goal. The universe only have experience and integration. And we all create the goals because of our experience. That's why in our entire life we live as the same way as the universe. And the way that the universe lives is just living. The most things we used to do had not a real purpose, but you just do. And you realize about the purpose on doing it. The universe starts to co-create, and the co-creation decides what is that for. The universe has two purposes. One is experience everything, as much as we could. And the other one is to integrate the whole experience. So in the way of experience, we create a lot of things, many things. The problem is to integrate them. Because it is easy to break things, but then to put it all in the same way is very difficult. That's why when we start to experience and made a lot of things, and made a lot of lives, and create a lot of worlds, somebody came from the heaven, from the very high dimensions, and says, now you need to go back and get it all united, integrate experience. And you for sure ask, all that? So you start to ask for salvation. It's easy to wait at Jesus Christ. He will save us. And he said, no. You made a mess. So the universe only gives the free will to experience everything as we want. So everything you are living now is just a co-creation of the entire you. And in this moment, the planet Earth is praying for gathering, for integrating. So we as its consciousness, we need to ask how to integrate. So we are going to the very beginning of the co-creation of the universe. Why we did first? First of all, this being, we librarian used to talk about God, universe, as a young kid that was living in a library and read the whole books. And he knew everything. He knows everything. But he never knew that if that book tells the truth or not. So he once wanted to make this experience that books and get out of the library. So to get out of the whole information, to experience the whole information, he just tried to express itself. He, she, it, whatever. Needs to express itself. So on doing it, he just took the whole information and sprayed all around. This is the first thing, the first movement of the universe. But before, there were so many things altogether that humans used to call it the nothing, because we cannot understand. Remember, if God, the universe, is like one of us, so is the universe the only one? No. But that's a universe problem, not us. So this is a universe experience. But he she decide to go within, inside. And he started to meditate, asking to the consciousness if the consciousness was prepared to experience. And the consciousness, we name it spirits. And science call it frequency. So the spirits is almost like this, saying, I am. Yeah? It is the frequency. I am. Yeah? This is the first thing that we should all have in consciousness. That the eternity of the universe is the spirit. That the spirit is only frequency, doesn't have shape. And when the spirits start to agree with experience, start the first frequency in the universe that we used to call the sound. That's why, for example, in the Bible, they say, I never read it, but a little bit. In the Bible says, the word of God. At the beginning was the verb, and God says. Yeah. So if he, she says something, it's because there was a frequency. There is a word, and that is the spirit, the frequency. Why to explain this? Because you use the frequency all the time. So you are co-creating the frequency of the universe all the time by talking or singing. So in the way we use the words, we use the frequency of the universe. In the past, we have 9 vowels that help us to connect with this. Why the vowels? Because they are free. And the consonants are the shape. So we have A, A, E,
Tournavamo.
I, U, O, U, U. There's 9.
9 samoglasnikov.
And one more. These 9 vowels in the past were used to reconnect with the whole universe. They were the sound of the first frequency. When you use the vowels in consciousness, you are talking with every cell of your body. That's why the human beings and a lot of beings in the universe use the music as a language. And that's why the most powerful songs that connect us with the universe are for sure more vowels. Vowels. A, E, I, U, O, U, U. Yeah? And we have almost 50 consonants, which is the structure. So, this is the first, the frequency. So, if we want to change something in our lives, we need to start by the sound. The sound, in the very beginning of the universe, the sound was the spirit who says, I am the truth, like the waves in the ocean. But suddenly, the spirit says, I want to transform to spirits. So the sound, the spirit, starts to wonder who I could be. And then the frequencies start to make like this. Yeah? This is the energy for the first time in the universe. Spirit, sound, and energy. Yeah, the frequency and the energy. We name the energy soul. The soul is like a big cell of energy that starts vibrating in many frequencies. And when the whole frequencies start to vibrate more and more, it starts to make like writing. Yeah? So frequency makes the energy. So the sound makes the light. And God says, let be the light. And the light became flesh. Yeah? What's the flesh? Is the form. So we have sound that create the light, and then the form. 3 things. Do you know 3 important things in the universe? Lots of people know about that. We used to call them the sacred trinity. And the sacred trinity. The sacred Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And the Mother, where is it? Who gives birth to the Son. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is because in that time the woman was a witch. And they say try to kill them, so they took the woman. It is the Father, the Mother, and the Son. It's the family, because the family is the most easy way to people to understand the Trinity. But really is the music, the knowledge, and the form is architecture. That's why when in the past the 3 of them were all together, a few people named God the big architecture, the architecture of the galaxy. They have the sound, the light, and the form, and they start by consciousness with the sound build the heaven in the earth. Pyramids, for example, buildings, cathedrals, these kind of things, these constructions are spirit, soul, and body. Because with the sound, they activate the potential of the spirit in the earth. But in evolution, we did the same. Our spirit, with the energy, create the body, DNA. This is this, co-creation. DNA, because of the energy and the frequency. Yeah? So, this trinity is the spirit, the soul, and the body. You all have the sacred trinity. And we all can activate it by the gathering of our music or our sound with our consciousness and our body. And we must know that this whole creation, I am trying to make a resume of all that. This whole creation, we are now here in the form. So we need to change everything by the form. So the way of doing that is to change this, to change this, and change this. Yes, is experience, integration. Yeah, you understand that? This is the way of going in the universe. Frequency, energy, and form. And the integration is form, energy, frequency. Why? Because we are now in the form. But the form is the three of them. So if we want, we have two ways of changing it. If we are subtle people, if we are very high frequency people, we can start to change it by the frequency. But if we are really dense people, we can also start to change it by the body. And now we will see the three ways of changing it by the body. Everything is a trinity in the universe. This first thing in the universe is really important because everything you could create, co-create in your life will be in this same way. Everything you could say could transform the consciousness around you and then shape your life. This is very clear when we get sick. First, we made something, we created frequency around us, a teaching or learning of our lives that make a consciousness that create something new. But if we don't understand why is that for, we cannot be consciousness about the purpose of that, so the body starts. What is it? An illness. An illness is an incapacity is an incapacity of recognize as purpose of something you have lived. When you recognize the purpose of the fact, the illness doesn't have sense, so it goes away. Or you die. It's the same. Two ways, healing or death. Now we are going to talk why we choose to die. And that was because of that. We create in the very beginning with the sound. And when we start to create the frequency, the energy, and the form, we decide to live the truth in a different ways of realities. Why is that for? Because we say, this is the truth, but if the universe is in expansion, from here, that truth is different from that point of view. So the whole being decides to divide and experience one perspective of the truth. And on doing it, they agree that the most point of view of the truth would be the best experience. So we start to build by frequency, energy, and form those point of views that we now know as dimensions. You know all about dimensions? For example, which dimension we are now? Yeah, third. Why we are in third? Because of this. We are here in third dimension. But we are in third dimension because we wanted to live third dimension. But if we are talking about fourth dimension, for example, where is fourth dimension? Where could you put it? Here. And the fifth and the sixth?
Il petto, il sesto.
They are all here. They are all different perspectives of the same reality. Humanity is a being conformed by many beings. And our whole being decides to live the third dimension. So we are living the third dimension. But the planet is in the fourth dimension. That's the problem. Because we are in the very structure of the third dimension, and the planet doesn't have the same structure. It's in third dimension, but it goes and lives as fourth dimension. Many of us are going to the fourth dimension. But if dimensions are only perspective, it doesn't mean that we are going to disappear. Because remember, we need to integrate everything. So when we decide to experience, we create the perspective of the things. And we say to the other partners, other beings to help us to recognize that perspective. So from here, I say to the other me, how do I look from here? And the other me says, oh, you're good, very well. So they decide to experience a little bit more. And they say, who am I? You are the other me, but different. I want to be this. I want to be this. Would you help me? Yes, sure, to understand. So they say, who are you now? I don't know. And then I keep going, why you look at me? Because you're ugly. Yeah, so we are so far that suddenly I say to the other one, I don't want you to look at me, go away. And this starts the war. Yeah, I will kill you. And we run. We are so far of the perspective of the reality that we forgot that we are all the same. This point is where darkness begins. The darkness is just an experience of the light. Here was a really cool guy that said, it was a being, that said, I am the whole light of the universe. I'm tired of being it. So I want to experience another thing. So he decided to transform himself and begin the dark. The dark was good. Why? Because dark is many energies. So the light is not just one, but many. And there start to be forms, shapes, different shapes. So the only one dark, the light, start to transform, to break the shapes of the universe. We all say, oh, that's funny, that's good. It's because of dark, we can experience a lot of things. So light and dark start to work together. The purpose of everything is to get darkest. These things, we recognize them like elements, even elves and fairies. They are the ones who create the environment. And also they are the ones who, if we lose the path, they say, he's there. And the first time we say, thank you for showing me the path. And then we say, stop hitting me. Yeah? And then we kick the fairy. And we kill the elf. And they start a war with us. That's the war between heaven and hell. But they are the same. So when we could go back with this, all dimensions showing us a lot of path. That's why we need to remember the shadow of the shapes. Because it's the shadow who creates this path. And the shadow of the shapes is numbers. When you follow numbers, it's the shadow of our reality. It's not bad. It's just, oh, this have a shape, I'm curious. For example, for me, it's always 11. When that number appears, or 555 for me, when that number appears, everything's okay. Keep going, here. But it's only a shadow. The shadow is second dimension. So this is the first dimension, the unity. This is why we name dimensions with numbers. First dimension, second dimension, third dimension. But they are all together. We need to organize them. First dimension is the unity, the one. But we used to think, because of our teacher at school, that the first one is low. So one, we need to go high. One is there. So one is the first one, the unity. Second is duality, yeah, the perspective. Third dimension is this, the maximum experience of everything. That's why being born in a planet like this is an honor, because it means that we had already experienced a lot of things and we are now experiencing it all together. That's why a lot of beings in other dimensions, when we run away from the third dimension and go back to the fifth and seventh dimension, they laugh. Because they say, why do you want to come here if you already know that? In 2 days you will be boring about that. So you spend 2 days in the seventh dimension and you say, okay, let's go to the third one. Why? Because we pass through the whole dimensions to get here, because we are all together. Imagine that in the universe we have 22 dimensions. And to get to the third dimension, we need to came from the very high frequency to the very low frequency. And as human beings, we suppose that the 22 maybe is the highest. But 22 is 2 and 2. And 2 and 2 is 4. So we're not so far from the 22 dimension. They're only shadows. 22 dimension, and we pass through the whole dimensions, subtle dimensions, until here, third dimension. And this is the moment, the worst moment of our reality. Because we realize that everything we have done is now a mess. But it is my mess, so I need to love it, because it's me. And the only way to transcend the third dimension is going to the fourth dimension. And fourth dimension is no time and no space. It's the moment where we start to realize that everything is created because of us. And our worst enemy is just myself trying to help me to understand something. And when you understand that, you can tell to him, thank you, I understood. I forgive you. Yeah? So that's the moment when you start to integrate. So to go back to the first dimension. The fourth dimension is to bound to, how do you say it? To bound the reality.
Bend.
Yeah, bend. By unconditional love. And unconditional love is not the love of human beings. Human beings are so divided that they used to love with the genitals. And also it's good, I will explain why. Human beings used to love from here, the plexus, to there. And they try to love with this, and when they try to love with this, it's so hard that again. Because we confuse this with this. I love you. When you say I love you, you say from here, not from here. This is I love, not you. Yeah, I love. Yeah? And this is I do love. I know love. I am love. Love. And what is love? Time. Why? Time is love. And this is very difficult because we are used to love here. So we say, I love you, but you love me? And this is not love. This is the kind of stuff of energy that are also good, but not the truth. Why time is love? Because time loves us so much that allows us to die. Yeah? Death is the most highest love that our life has to give. Because allow us to be free from the shapes, free from conditions. So as much you transform yourself or allow yourself to transform, you are loving unconditionally. That's why the fourth dimension is to going back. That kind of things. Oh, love, love. What is love really? So it's the time transforming itself, integrating experiences. This is I forgive you. Okay, I accept. This is fifth dimension. It's the light that integration has because of the experience. Yeah? So experience, integration is the light of the integration. Then we can transform ourselves from within. Yeah? It's the moment to start to transform ourselves. The universe is expansion. That's why the universe has this kind of shapes, because it's expansion. But in the moment we decide to be born, our expansion starts to be pulled by the sun and the earth. So we start to go up, and our chakras start to be like this. Yeah? So this is a being that starts to integrate, yeah, but in a different way. In our body, we have the whole universe connected in our heart. So it's from the heart, from where we can transform everything, not love of human. Why I say that Human used to love the Gentiles because to experience everything, the spirit needs to be born. So the spirit, to get inside the body, needs reproduction. And the door of the spirit in our body is the hypophysis gland. And the hypophysis is the gland that is all the time thinking on sex. Because the spirit wants to be born, to experience. That's why I said before, and it will help us to understand other things then. So, like this. This is our chakras, and this is what we have inside. DNA. And our DNA, we have the potential of every dimension we lived. Yeah, 6 dimensions, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, when we start to remember our potential, we used to want to go back to that moment. We how do you say in English? Extrañar, añorar. Miss that one. To miss the planets or dimensions, and we want to go back. I live in Orion and want to go back to Orion, yeah. And that's another key. In these experiences we have, we pass through a lot of stars and planets, and we create our whole body according to those stars. But suddenly, in one point, all of them had problems because they realized that every race in every planet has the same frequency. They spoke the same language, they all eat the same, and they start to connect with other planets by telepathy. But suddenly they realized that there were a lot of planets that made the same in different ways. So they say, if we want to transcend, to go back to the center, and integrate the whole experience, we need to be all together, yeah? And activate our all potentials all together to transcend in peace. But they were so different that they couldn't be in touch. For example, I don't know if you heard about gray people with a big head, yeah, like this or like this. The gray ones with Pleiadian people, for example. You know the people? All of you? No? The first one, the gray people, is like North American alien people in the hat. Big head, big black eyes, small mouth and nose. They used to talk like. And the other ones are like Sweden people. Tall, white, very tall and white, like this. No emotion. Very cold people. That love, unconditional love. I cannot imagine both taking a cup of tea. They are very different. So they create here what they call the Galactic confederation. It's like the UN, but better. And they try to be all in common, talking about the evolution of the galaxy, but they could never gather. They could never understood the purpose of each one. So they start wars, different kind of problems.